Welcome to another episode of Soul's podcast. I hope that you're having a great day wherever you are. Here, we learn together to heal, to free our souls from all burdens of the past, and to cultivate more self love. In today's episode, we want to talk about the concept of duality, another characteristic of the ego. In the last episode, we spoke about ego, the form of consciousness which exists in lower consciousness levels, which some call also a three-dimensional or four-dimensional matrix, which is both space and time-bound. The matrix is the material form of this lifespan that humans spend on planet Earth. We have covered already in the first episode and previous episodes some characteristics of the ego, or the logical part of human mind, and the fact that it consists of inner parts, which for most of us have already taken control of our brain and are making our decisions for us, often in an automatic, unconscious way that we barely notice. These patterns cause us a lot of suffering and take our control away, which makes it impossible to run an authentic, healthy life as long as we stay stuck with them. As covered in the last episode, the ego is supposed to be a specialized instrument which is created to help with human physical existence on Earth. We were not supposed to put the ego in charge of our whole life, since it comes from a narrow, limited perspective, therefore can fully sabotage our growth. Among some other cognitive distortions, another fundamental characteristic of ego is dualism, which simply put means ego constantly tries to divide a unified universe into separate, opposing parts. It sees and therefore experiences all life events through the lens of duality, self and other, good and bad, light and dark, us and them. This contrast is called the duality. When consciousness operates within lower vibrational energies, commonly referred to as third-dimensional and fourth-dimensional matrices, this dualistic framework acts as a perceptual filter. This filter shapes our whole reality. It is a form of binary thinking that empowers us, creates an illusion of separation, and drives human conflicts. Besides, as mentioned, duality locks us into unconscious negative behavioral loops, which results in external reactivity and prevents us from being able to be present in the moment, the only place real life exists and creation and manifestation of our dreams is possible. The dualistic ego requires contrast and conflict to sustain its identity. Without an adversary, a problem to fix, or a standard to judge against, the ego's illusion of a separate self weakens. Maintaining this fiction heavily relies on using these rigid ego polarities to trap us into a cycle of separation and defensiveness by creating a classic behavioral loop. Originally mapped by psychiatrist Stephen Karpman, this loop, known as the drama triangle, highlights three unconscious roles: the victim, the persecutor or the villain, and the rescuer. Sounds familiar, right? Yes, most movies, fiction, or theater pieces you have watched also use the drama triangle, or these three roles, as an attractive storyline. In a nutshell, the drama triangle is nothing but a strong power struggle dynamic between egos. And as long as an individual is stuck on this lower level of consciousness, it is very difficult for them to resist being dragged into one of these roles. What makes this dynamic even more complex is that the roles constantly trade places and are interchangeable, which can keep you guessing and make you feel confused, and therefore keep you stuck in such drama cycles even for years. The first role, the victim role, is shaped by the illusion of powerlessness. Built on a dualistic split which says, I am entirely helpless and the external world holds all the power, which obviously then gives you the right to blame others, avoid responsibility, and remove guilt. The victim believes the world is unfair, They always look outward for a savior, refusing to take responsibility for their circumstances. Even if you blame the environment and ancestral karma for your emotional instability, you are practically being in the role of a victim. The payoff for the human ego in this role is that by adopting absolute helplessness, the ego avoids the risk of failure and the responsibility of self directed change. This aligns with ego's agenda for safety, comfort, and survival. The persecutor role is shaped by the illusion of control and stems from a defensive dualistic split which says, I must dominate and dictate, or else I will be dominated and victimized. This normally shows up as overt aggression, blame, and being very controlling. The persecutor or villain projects their inner flaws onto others, insisting that it's all your fault. But be careful. This can also appear as dogmatic judgments, such as labeling others as toxic or shaming others who do not fit your specific lifestyle. The payoff for the human ego in this role is that by blaming an external target, the ego suppresses its own deep fears of vulnerability, weakness, and powerlessness. If you remember from first episode, this can be a very powerful tactic from the manager in a part to confine the vulnerable exiles. The third role, the rescuer, is shaped by the illusion of conditional worth. The rescuer, on the other hand, operates on a subtle, codependent dualistic split, which says, I'm only worthy, safe, and good if I'm actively fixing, saving, or counseling someone else, or middle, to solve the conflicts between others. The rescuer constantly jumps in to solve problems for people who sometimes haven't even asked for help, often enabling bad behavior and burning themselves out in the process. This role is quite common for an empath to get stuck with. Here, the ego payoff is that the rescuer gains a sense of moral superiority and validation in the process. Normally, these are the firefighter inner parts. By focusing on other people's problem, they avoid facing their own internal emotions or anxieties. And again, by doing so, they're keeping their inner exiles confined, which is some sort of self-denial in a way. Because these roles are built on a dualistic illusion, they're inherently unstable and, as mentioned, interchangeable. The moment a rescuer grows exhausted, they switch into a resentful victim. If the victim pushes back, the rescuer can turn into an aggressive persecutor. This constant rotation keeps consciousness trapped within lower three-dimensional and four-dimensional dynamics. It drains personal energy, prevents genuine accountability, self-reflection, spiritual evolution, and manifestation. Another downside of getting trapped in the drama triangle is that you end up blaming life and others all the time. This means each time you blame, you are keeping your vibration constantly low, feeding all other negative emotions, and diving even deeper into unconsciousness and illusion of three-dimensional and four-dimensional matrix. The way to liberate yourself and break out of this doomed spiral is through self-leadership. Operating from a place of self and taking charge for your life means you refuse to be treated as a victim. Instead, accept the reality for what it is and try to find out where you actually have control to use your power and choice to make positive change. It all starts, though, with this awareness you have reached today by listening to this podcast episode. Just by doing that, you have raised your consciousness and are able to start noticing these duality patterns whenever they appear in your daily life and in your relationships with others. When you feel triggered to judge someone or play a role in the drama triangle, growth mindset prompts can come in handy. You just need to pause and ask yourself, what part of my internal system still believes in separation here? What is this trigger trying to show me about my own path? This approach shifts you from an unconscious actor of ego's drama into an active, powerful observer of your own mind. It gives you the golden opportunity to use every trigger and your own ego as an internal biofeedback system and a chance for you to learn and grow. Just as Viktor Frankl, father of logotherapy, once wisely said, between a stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. Becoming fully conscious means moving beyond this 3D, 4D dualism into the 5D, fifth dimensional consciousness. This means not only you become the observer, but also you take the role of manifester and surrender to the big picture of life. This new level of reality is the realm of acceptance and creation, and is rooted in unity, love, and radical neutrality. To achieve this state, one requires to shift from binary thinking and duality, the time-bound and space-bound physical reality of Matrix, toward a timeless and limitless spiritual level of reality, which is accessing the whole consciousness. This means you shift from separation, which is only illusion of ego, to oneness and connection to the whole universe. This gives you obviously the capacity to hold two seemingly contradictory truths at once. On the 5D level, or higher consciousness, one believes in all is one and everything is. No wonder that any contrast suddenly vanishes and turns into acceptance and compassion. You begin to realize it was not out of morality that you had held this black and white binary picture in 3D level, but it was your ego. To be specific, your firefighter parts taking the rescuer role to protect you from your vulnerable exiles. This brings us to another vital point on self-development journey, which has been already covered in the previous episodes. The way to consciousness starts with self-love and self-acceptance. You need to first connect with, get to know, and accept all your inner parts and show love and acceptance towards them to be able to become fully conscious. Remember, your outer reality is only a reflection of your inner world. Applying this acceptance and neutrality to your daily experiences, over time, you don't see or label them anymore as bad or good. You become aware as the observer that there is no good or bad. They are only polar endpoints of the same spectrum. You realize that everything happens for you in life, not to you. And this huge change in your perspective helps you to see every life experience as a catalyst required for your soul's expansion and personal growth. This is what Carol Dweck calls developing a growth mindset. As a result of this perspective shift, which shows you have stepped out of duality of ego in 3D reality and entered the realm of 5D consciousness, the drama triangle collapses in your life. This is the ultimate proof and a sign that you have shifted timelines, and you're not willing anymore to get dragged into this drama orchestrated by the ego. When you stop feeding the ego's need for separation and external validation, the roles of victim, persecutor, and rescuer naturally transform into their empowered, non-dualistic counterparts, which turns the drama power struggle game into the empowerment dynamic. The victim who once felt helpless and powerless becomes the creator, which asks instead of, why is this happening to me? What can I create out of this situation? The transition from victim to creator requires accepting absolute responsibility for your internal state, your reactions, and your life. Therefore, you stop waiting for outside forces to rescue you or change your circumstances. You recognize that while you cannot always control external 3D events, you retain full sovereignty over your internal response, mindset, and focus, which in long term will transform your external 3D reality. So you begin organizing your life around clear visions and your values rather than merely reacting to outside circumstances. The persecutor, who was once defensive, aggressive, and controlling, switches roles with challenger, sticking to the facts and setting healthy boundaries. So instead of saying, "You are wrong and I must break you to survive," it says, "This is how it makes me feel, and these are my boundaries." The transition from persecutor to challenger role replaces the desire for domination with absolute clarity of what you need, accountability to put yourself first and speak your truth, and to set healthy boundaries. A challenger does not attack, belittle, or shame others, but instead acts as a clean mirror, calling out truths, demanding accountability, and disrupting stagnation without emotional charge or malice. So you learn to set your boundaries clearly and enforce them calmly and respectfully. You view disruptions and resistance not as enemies, but as opportunities designed by the universe to bring you in alignment with your true self. And the rescuer, the codependent fixer, transforms into the coach, believing in others' capacity for healing and growth, and supporting them by empowering their self accountability and self ownership to make authentic choices for their life. So instead of saying, "Let me help you and fix you to feel worthy," the coach says, "I trust your innate power to heal yourself and respect your space." A coach refuses to buy into another person's victimhood and lack of power. So instead of stepping in to save them, the coach asks profound, empowering questions that help others discover their own strengths, answers, and sovereignty. These roles depend entirely on the 3D, 4D illusion that we are separate individuals who can hurt or save one another. In 5D, you see everyone as a sovereign soul fulfilling their own contract. You hold absolute neutral love for them and feel connected to the whole universe, which dissolves the need to fix or rescue or blame or persecute. When you look at it from this perspective, stepping into 5D isn't just about changing roles. As mentioned, it is about collapsing the entire triangle because time and space-based projections of ego vanish. Moving from ego to self and from self to higher self or soul, as you become more and more conscious, you don't feel like a victim to your past karma or timeline anymore, which was the case on 4D level, but become a creator, a manifestor in 5D who can shift timelines. Stepping beyond the physical matrix doesn't require leaving the 3D world behind or silencing your ego. True consciousness and spiritual maturity mean changing your relationship with the ego entirely. This means becoming the observer and anchoring yourself in the present moment instead of buying into the orchestrated drama by the ego or the illusion of time, which constantly demanding you to regret the past or fear the future, which only distracts you from growth and serving your life purpose. Therefore, you don't see life anymore as a chaotic battlefield of opposing forces, but you see life as a purposeful school for growth and consciousness. You don't take things seriously. Instead, realize life is a playground where every incident serves as a catalyst for your growth, expansion, and deeper self-discovery. Life on Earth is a game, and to be able to win at any game, you first need to know the rules. Not the illusion that ego presents to you, but the real energetic spiritual rules that govern life on Earth beyond physical realm. This is the only way to manifest and finally become the creator you have been born to be. In the coming episodes, I will discuss these energetic laws in more details, so don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel to stay tuned for my next episodes. Everything you need to embark on your growth journey is already within you. Growth and sustainable change demand a shift in identity, rewiring your negative limiting core beliefs and discovering your true life purpose. There is currently a gap between your current identity and the identity who lives your desired life. As a coach, I'm honored to help my clients to reflect, dive deep within, and access their inner source of guidance, which helps them bridge this identity gap and manifest their dream life. If you currently feel stuck or lost in your life situation, or struggle with anxiety, I can help you break free from all patterns and the limitations of the ego to find your true passion and manifest your dream life and to get where you deserve to be. Check the link in the description to book your first coaching call with me today. Thank you for being here with me today on another episode of Soul's Podcast. If you wish to learn more about this, remember to like and subscribe to my channel. Stay tuned for more episodes and videos like this. I send you much love and light wherever you are. Your co-traveler and guide, Sareh. See you next time.